Greetings, my possum friends. This is Opie Joe, Joe Wiggins, coming to you from a fireside chat from St. Louis, Missouri, from my house in my basement office, surrounded by all my sports memorabilia. I just want to let everyone here know that the NFL kickoff is 50 days away. Now, we're going to cover the NFC North tonight. We're going to do some game previews, and then we're going to get into redraft content. It's a great time of year. It's your drafts. Get with your family, your friends, have a few brewski beers, drive a boat. There should always be a boat involved. But I wish you guys the most wonderful time of the year. Some people say it's Christmas. Joe says it's draft season. So I want to be the first to welcome you to draft season, and I love you, possums. Josh, Billy, what's up?
Just happy to be here, man. Just knocking these podcasts out. We're finally about to be done with the previews, which I say I'm about to be done, but like it seems like it takes years. But in reality, these are super fun, and honestly, you guys give me some valuable content to bring home to myself, which is great in my own drafts. Which I really wish we would do all of these podcasts after our drafts that we're in collectively, but that doesn't seem to happen, and then we always seem to end up poaching our guys.
We should just bank these podcasts and release them all like 1 week. Just 8 days straight of conference preview or division previews.
I think the only way to make this like good is we each record our team in private, and then after our drafts we release them, and it's just a bunch of clips of the teams.
Yeah.
See how close we were.
I don't know. I feel like that might be a little chaotic, but fair enough. All right. Well, everybody in the fantasy world is in the midst of Scott Fishbowl drafts. I know the three of us are. Joe's league shot out to like a 13-pick lead, even though we both started at the same time, and I don't even understand how that happened. Joe, are you actually done with your draft now?
Yeah, we've been done for like 4 or 5 days now.
That's insane.
So awful.
Like, it's so insane.
What round are you on?
I'm in 19 right now.
Okay, we're on 16. We had a big lull yesterday or 2 days ago, but it's been fun. And honestly, like, it's the dregs. I get it. Some people take their time.
I had some people petitioning Scott Fish to put people on auto draft, which he explained that you can't actually do. It's just not the way it works. You can't just put people on auto draft just because it takes them a long time. So we've been trying, but yeah, it has been a slow process. But Joe, it's good to hear that your draft is all the way over with.
Yeah, it flew. It really flew.
That's good. Okay.
So what was your biggest? Oh, sorry, my bad.
Oh, I was gonna announce.
Well, he's got a whole thing, Josh. All right.
Oh, we already talked about it, but I guess that was off to the side.
Well, it's fine, Josh. Bring the pre-show meeting into the actual meeting. That's fine too. All right. We're going to talk about each lesson that we've learned. So basically, these are redraft leagues. I mean, they're weird settings. So we're kind of I'm going to take my lesson with a little bit of a grain of salt because there is some bizarre settings in this. But I just ask all three of us to come up with one lesson we've learned in these drafts so far to just pass on to listeners so that maybe they can look out for this in their drafts, or maybe they can learn something that will not take them by surprise. So without further ado, Joe, what is one thing that you learned in your Scott Fishbowl draft that you were not expecting?
Well, the one thing, and this is Scott Fishbowl specifically, is how much the kick return and punt return yards factor into the actual drafting. I know a lot of people aren't playing these rules, but it's basically 20 yards is what, 4 points, 5 points? Yeah. It's insane. So like my favorite Greg Dortch stat line is he had a game where he had 2 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown, half-point PPR. That's 11 points, but he had 90 return yards, so he had 30 points that game. And when we got to the end of the draft, everyone's speculating. No one knows who these kickoff returners are going to be, especially with these new rules. But it was kind of funny watching people just grab random returners everywhere and everything. I grabbed Dortch. I grabbed Jaden Reed. I figured he'd return some punts here and there and could be great in the lineup as is. Plus, I have Jordan Love. Yeah. But for actual redraft purposes, I don't want to make this too long, but I have noticed in the drafts I've done this year, taking running back early, specifically taking 2 running backs early, puts your team so far behind the rest of the curve. You cannot make it up with the way you're getting these receivers. And it's insane. I mean, that's really the glaring thing from this draft season. I don't know about your home leagues. I know in our league, running backs go quick, so you have to grab them early a lot of the time. But I don't like the way that these teams are turning out. If you go Bijan and Josh Jacobs or Saquon, if you're able to stack those two, I don't like the way the team looks at the end compared to starting wide receiver, or wide receiver running back.
Just to, as I'm going to bring some corporate lingo in here, just to piggyback off of Joe with the punt return, kick return yards, seeing Rashid Shaheed, and I think I texted you guys live. I was like, what happened? I was like, here's the 3 options I have, and one will probably be gone, at least 2. And then Rashid Shaheed got picked, and I was like, why? And then I saw the kick return yards. This is on me. Should have looked at the settings. Didn't realize that anyone ever did kick return yards, but I like it. Gives a little aspect to it, especially with such a deep league. But
yeah,
I still don't get it personally. I mean, you imagine Shaheed's going to be the number 2. You don't. I just personally think that like that pick right there, and nobody else was paying attention to this. It wasn't like there was another one that's been drafted. Yeah, if you had to put the highest one up there, it'd be Shaheed. But nobody was paying attention. The 5th round for Shaheed, I got Ken Walker like 2 picks later, and I personally like with the running back points that they have is that was the thing that I loved is people went crazy on the running back points because of the 0.25 per carry, and I was like, that just levels the playing field. That doesn't really change, like it doesn't make them vault their stock up. I was seeing James Cook went in the 5th. I thought that was before Ken Walker. Someone drafted 3 running backs in a row, 3, 4, 5, and then someone else drafted 1, 2, 5, 6, and had a wide receiver and a quarterback in between. This is a super flex, man. Like I'm sitting here like, your second quarterback's Russell Wilson, dog. Like you don't even have a backup yet. No offense to you. I mean, I'm not. If you do listen to my podcast, I'm not trying to down on you. Just I went quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, and I'm going to look back from that because it's super flex, and there's 30 starting quarterbacks, if you really want to call them starting. So it was just an interesting draft state. Like I kept getting poached on running backs because there was like a thread of like 5 in a row at one point, and I was just like, fine, I'll just keep doing my own thing.
That's true. Joe, back to your point. Yes, I actually tried in this just to see how it went with like 2 quarterbacks and a running back as my first 3 picks, just to see what would end up happening with the wide receivers. The wide receivers I ended up with was DJ Moore in the 6th round, Ladd McConkey in the 8th round, Keon Coleman, Jacoby Myers, and Xavier Gibson because of the return yards as my other 3 wide receivers so far. So I for this league, I don't necessarily hate it. For my home league, I would be like, I'm probably losing. There's probably a good chance I'm not going to win this year. Even though like I like the way that my team's built for this, I don't necessarily know if I like it for that. So I'm probably not doing not a tight end running back or running back. I probably have to go wide receiver first 2 rounds. I think that is definitely a good call there.
That's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
I think you have to get 2 or 3 wide receivers early in a non-super flex. I think you have to get one of the top 7 tight ends. I've talked to Josh about this, but I think this year you have to have the top 7 tight ends to be competitive. I think there is such a huge gap in tight end there in the middle that this will be a year. I'm not taking the first one, but I will definitely be grabbing one of those tight ends, the Kittle, Ingram, stuff like
so the ones that I like in my league, for example, go like Travis Kelce, yes. Laporta, yes. Trey McBride, yes. Evan Ingram, yes. Dalton Kincaid, yes. Mark Andrews, yes. That's 6. And then I would say Kyle Pitts is on the fence, but I think we can all say that.
I think you have to put him as a yes.
There's a good chance that he's a yes. And then after that is where kind of like I know George Kittle's after that. I know
George Kittle's
Bowers,
George Kittle hasn't played football though, and he's been injured all offseason. That's the only downside to him. I mean, he's going to come out and play. He's going to game, especially with the Ayuk news. But I feel like the next one, the 7 that Joe's speaking of, is Evan Ingram, who is wide receiver 2 on the team at the current moment. Yeah. So like, I think Kittle's 8, and I think you're right, Joe. I think the line's right there, 7-ish. I would say. I
think 7-ish is. I think you could probably wait if you didn't get one of those first 7. I think even if Kittle is there, I think you could wait, and you'd probably pick up a Jake Ferguson later and still be.
Well, the thing is about tight end is with Kincaid, McBride, and Laporta all coming into the mix. You add that on top of Kelce, Mark Andrews, Laporta. I mean, there's versatility. Like honestly, I think tight end. This is the year that tight end in redraft, at least, and non-tight end premium, goes later. Like, I don't think the Travis Kelce second round pick is happening anymore. I think we're done with that. I mean, someone's probably still going to do it, but
I would say Laporta for sure will go in the second round.
And I think that's a mistake, but we'll get to Detroit in a little bit.
That's fair. Yeah. No,
I just think this is weird. You have the most like top heavy tight end we've had in probably a decade now, but there is just this great schism in between there where it drops off quick. And then what I'm seeing in drafts are people are panicking and they're grabbing Freiermuth, they're grabbing Kmet much earlier than they actually should, just because they don't have that tight end, and it gets really thin after that. I mean, there's some good sleepers this year. Johnny is one of my guys. I like Noah Fant, but I just don't think you can make that up in drafts. Yeah. Dalton Schultz is solid.
I just feel like if you miss, like you said, honestly, really, in my opinion, those top five, because let's say Pitts and Kittle are kind of on the fringe. If I guess is that six without? Yeah, it's six without Kyle Pitts and our guy Kittle. Like, I just feel like you missed out. And like, yeah, it'd be cool to get Pitts or it'd be cool to get Kittle, but do not reach for them. Like, I don't know. I personally, I think tight ends are going to go a lot later now, just because there is kind of like a overstock of them for once. And yeah, as we're drafting, we're seeing like, yeah, there's a lot of wide receivers, but like they fall off a cliff a lot quicker than tight ends do, in my opinion. So like, I just feel like we used to be 1, 2, 3 tight ends tops of like the top tier. And now we're at a point where we have 6 that are like, I'm cool. I don't think any 6 could be the top tight end this year. Like, I don't think it's Kelce, it's Laporta. I mean, I think it's a very fringe moment. And like, I just don't rush on it. Like, I hate that for people. I understand if you're in tight end premium and like, I understand Scott Fishbowl, but honestly, tight ends didn't go very fast in this league.
They really don't score that many points overall, even with the tight end premium in that league. I mean,
it's only an extra 0.5 per catch. I mean, it's not ridiculous. Anyway, Bill, not to derail this too much. What's your biggest Scott Fishbowl take?
So mine's more player specific, and I was just going to mention Devon Achane. In my league, I don't know if this is every league. It caught me by surprise because it was happening in my league, but he went as the first pick in the 4th round. And I did a little bit of math on that. There was 14 quarterbacks that went before him in this league. Say you take one of those guys out, maybe because you got one crazy guy that's a Patrick Mahomes fan, or maybe he's a Jalen Hurts fan, something like that. Like, you've got a crazy guy that takes somebody in the 2nd round. Even if you took all them out, that would mean Devon Achane is the 18th pick in the draft. And I'm just going to say there's no way in hell he's going to deliver on 18th. I don't believe it, because that probably puts him in, obviously makes him an RB1, but obviously that also means that he probably is way ahead of other guys that I think are going to score more points than him. I don't know how he fell in your all's drafts, but I think there's no way he delivers on the 18th best player that's a non-QB.
Just to put this in perspective, on Fantasy Pros, 4 QBs drafted: Mahomes, Lamar, the top 4, Hurts, and Allen. For some reason, Allen's number 1. 2 tight ends have been drafted. He's running back 11 at 36 with wide receiver 19 on the board. So yeah, I think you're right. There's 19 wide receivers, maybe not quite that much, that I would draft for him. I think a 3rd round pick for Achane. I just feel like the sample size is so small, but I feel like what we saw in that small sample size, everyone's so excited. And I understand why. I mean, if you can get a 50, 60 point scorer on a regular basis, the thing is you're not getting a regular basis 50, 60 point scorer. I mean, Miami is one Tyreek Hill injury away from just being irrelevant, as we've seen. And then, not to mention the split workload, adding another mouth in that backfield. I understand he's a rookie, but like, he's going to get play time. And it's like Mostert's still there. And like, I think they've even came out and said Mostert's the number 1 guy. Like, why are you?
The value on Mostert right now is
it's insane.
Absolutely,
it's insane. Just to answer your question though, 4-4 on mine as well. So he was right there, essentially same spot.
I feel like this is like one of those things where I just like, am I taking crazy pills? Like, what are you guys seeing that you think that he's going to deliver on that? Because like in this draft, like, I'll just play like a quick name game, but like Devon Achane, would you rather have Josh Jacobs or Devon Achane?
Jacobs.
For me, it's Jacobs. I feel like you've got a more definite workload there. Would you rather have Ken Walker or Devon Achane?
Ken Walker, who I drafted a round after.
Walker.
See, Joe, you're shaking your head. Devon Achane's got to split his carries with 2 other people, and he's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like,
I get that. No. I'm not. That was
like Ken
more or
Walker
less.
has a more definitive workload than.
Well,
I love
and
Ken
also-
Walker. I think Charbonnet is going to be more of an issue this year than he was last
Probably.
year. But no, to bring up your point on Achane, I mean, on top of them, we saw Ahmed getting carries last year. We saw them trying to give him the ball. And then you had a guy like Malik Washington, Johnny Smith, Taj Washington, probably not going to be much of a factor. But you have all these guys here. Yeah. You have all these other guys here that, I mean, he's not going to get as many receiving opportunities because they just did not have anyone last year, which is my thing with Achane. But yeah, in our draft, he went 4'11". I mean, Drake London went after him, Debo Samuel, Josh Jacobs.
Debo with the impending wow, wild.
Mike Evans went behind him. I would rather have any of those guys for sure.
I mean, even running back wise, Isaiah Pacheco went after him. I'd feel better with Isaiah Pacheco. Joe Mixon went after him. Feel better about Joe Mixon. James Cook, probably, depending on how that all shakes out, I might feel a little bit better about having James Cook. And Alvin Kamara. I feel I'd feel better about having Alvin Kamara than I would him right now.
The cool thing about James Cook is he's either going to slip so far in drafts or he's going to be picked way too early. There's no in between. Yeah. There's no like, this is great value for James Cook. Like, it's like, holy crap, he's still there in the 6th round or something. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I guess I'll take James Cook in the 5th or, like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I love this time of year because the redraft rankings really shake out.
I can't do it, and I wasn't expecting it, and then it happened in almost everybody's draft I've talked to. He's been in the 4th round, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't understand. I guess I just don't understand. But
then when you factor in the scoring,
that's gonna be my problem.
He's not going to get a ton of carries, so the points per carry isn't great.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to get that many first downs because he's more of an explosive player. So, unless he breaks one off, but that's more Mostert. And I would assume Jalen Wright's going to get more of that first and second.
Also, he's not going to get the reception bonus as a running back. So he's still going to get half-point catches. So really, I will say the one thing in the Scott Fishbowl League that it does is it really takes away those pass catching running backs, which is kind of funny because they all went really high still. And it's like, you don't get the bonus for that. That's wide receiver and tight end for extra bonuses, half and one. So
no, I can I be honest with you guys? I think people think Devon Achane is Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's not. Like, no, it's not going to be the same. It's not a 1A, 1B. They're not the same guy. It's Jahmyr Gibbs is a whole different animal than Devon Achane, which I don't know. Just can't believe it. But I don't know. Everybody out there, see what you can do. But I would not be the guy that takes him in the 4th round because I don't want to get laughed at. But that's just me. All right, let's get on to the NFC North preview. We have 2 divisions left. You got the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, and we're going to start off with the worst projected team in the division, Joe, which is the Vikings, but nobody has them. So we're going to go with second worst, which is Joe's Bears. So, Joe, take us away.
Bears. Okay. So, I mean, basically what we have, we have Shane Waldron coming in. Eberflus is still there. Say what you will about it. I don't know. He seemed to have the team playing pretty hard. Needs to work on some stuff. We get Shane Waldron coming in from the Seahawks, and you get Eric Washington coming over from the Bills as your defensive coordinator. The big news is we signed Caleb Williams and we signed Rome Odunze to contracts today. That was phenomenal. They were completely unsigned, and that was pretty worrisome as a Bears fan. But we got them under contract. Caleb Williams is awesome. I think he's going to be a rookie quarterback. I think he's going to start a little bit slower, and then by the end of the season, we'll really see what this team can do. So I love Caleb Williams. I think where he's being drafted right now, he's like QB 13, QB 14. I think you could do if you draft him, you got to back him up with a competent guy, or he has to be your number 2 quarterback. I would feel a little bit uneasy going in with him as my 1 quarterback. And then we bring in DeAndre Swift, gave him a ton of money. DeAndre Swift said, I just want to go where I'm wanted the most, a.k.a. the team that gave me the biggest contract, which was the Bears. Say what you will about DeAndre Swift, but he's roughly the same size as Kenneth Walker. He has a very similar play style. Those 2 guys over the last 2 years have I think they're one run apart on explosive runs. And, he should slide right into that Kenneth Walker role that we saw from last year, even being a better pass receiver than what Kenneth Walker was. So DeAndre Swift is going as RB24. Listen, the offensive line is a house of cards. We have Darnell Wright played pretty good. Nate Davis was there. He not the best. And then we got Ryan Bates, which Ryan Bowles wanted originally, and we got Braxton Jones on the left side, and the often injured Tevin Jenkins. If those guys can stay healthy, DeAndre Swift could be a massive value, and I am very comfortable drafting him where he's going, possibly even a little bit higher, because I think in this offense he can do a lot of damage. I mean, Eberflus is a more conservative coach. You have a lot of good receivers on the outside and a pretty good running line, so I think DeAndre Swift set up pretty nicely. Khalil Herbert. People are saying he might get cut. I think he gets traded. I don't think there's any way we just cut him outright. He is a very good player, but I don't know, he's not as good as Swift, and Roschon honestly looks a little bit better than he did last year. So with Khalil Herbert, he is a dynasty buy for me right now. I'm going to shoot some very low offers out there. No one is high on this guy at all. But if he were to get traded, say to the Cowboys or to the Chargers,
I want to just stop you right here. I think Khalil Herbert was doing fine for what he had the first few games of the season, and then he got injured, and then it was rotation. He never got his job back, basically. I do agree with you. I think that the trade makes the most sense. I mean, like, what are you guys going to do with 3? You just drafted Roschon last year. Like, might as well use the 2 rookies and young guys you got. You're not going to use Herbert. Go get something out of him. You know what I mean? But, like, honestly, I like Herbert personally. And
no, I like Herbert too. I just, I don't see what he does in this offense. He's going to play second fiddle to Swift.
No, yeah.
Honestly, he doesn't catch passes.
7 carries tops.
He can catch passes, but for every reason, they never throw the ball to him. And that's kind of Roschon's lane. That's where he kind of excelled last year. So my thought is Herbert, good buy low, see where he lands. And then Roschon, more of your pass catching back. He showed pretty good in short yardage situations too. What I really think is going to happen if all these guys stay is you're just going to get really annoying committee with Swift being the best one out of it and Swift having pretty good value for his, he's going to be efficient, I think. I wouldn't say anything beyond that. And then wide receiver, DJ Moore is your number 1. Do not get it twisted. This man is your number 1. He is the most versatile of these receivers. He can go deep. He can be a possession guy. He can get the yards after the carry. And with Caleb Williams' arm, him and DJ Moore should click right away. They were already doing it in camp pretty nicely. So DJ Moore is awesome. He's going as wide receiver 27. So you're not paying out the mouth to get him. And he should return quite a bit of value. Have definitely some spike games in there. Pretty good best ball thing. But I think DJ Moore gets most of the targets and is the number 1 on this team. Keenan Allen is the number 2. He is the possession guy. He's the vet. He is the savvy route runner. And he's going to get on the field right away and should be your possession guy on this team. I don't expect massive yardage totals from Keenan Allen this year, but I expect a lot of catches. Now, here's where it gets interesting is Shane Waldron ran the most 13 personnel in the league last year, which is 3 tight ends and 1 wide receiver. So I think when that happens, DJ Moore is your guy. And, I mean, I assume with these 3 guys, you would try to get all 3 of them on the field quite a bit, including Rome Odunze. But last year, Waldron had Metcalf, Lockett, and JSN. So the jury's out on that. I don't know why you wouldn't get all 3 of those guys on the field at once. But I think most of what we're looking at is DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Rome Odunze is absolutely phenomenal. He's a contested catch monster. He's great. He's a great dynasty pick. I just don't think this year. I mean, he's going to wide receiver 40, 67 overall. I'm not touching it. I even think Keenan Allen's going a little bit high at 53 overall. What we're expecting right now is for Caleb Williams to just come out of the gate and be a NFL veteran. And that's kind of how these guys are projected at the moment. So I think DJ Moore, I'd be very comfortable drafting him. I'm probably going to fade Keenan, or I'm definitely going to fade Rome Odunze at his price. And then Keenan Allen, if he slips a little bit, I'd be happy to take, especially in a PPR. Which brings you to the tight end. Cole Kmet, awesome year. Awesome year last year. I don't know how he fits in this offense, but we know Waldron loves to use the tight end, so I would assume he's going to do the same thing he did last year. So, I think he's your 3rd target on this team. Him and Swift are probably going to battle that out. And then if we do run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, Gerald Everett's going to come in there. Big offseason signing. And Everett has shown a lot of juice over the years too. So I think it hurts Kmet a little bit having Everett there. I wouldn't expect him to dig into it a ton. But Gerald Everett, especially on DraftKings, in your millie makers, Gerald Everett's probably not the best bet. He is going to see the field an awful lot. What do you guys think about this offense?
A lot of mouths to feed, if I got to be completely honest with you. That's my biggest problem with it. And I agree with everything you said about like they're expecting him to come in and look like an NFL veteran immediately. I will say one thing that's just crazy to me is Cole Kmet had 40 more points than he did in 2022 and 23, had 200 extra yards, one less touchdown, or 20 extra catches, 200 extra yards, and ended up as tight end 8. Further cementing this conversation we had about tight ends, he had tight end 7 with 400 yards the year before with 1 extra touchdown, 20 less catches. Do not draft tight ends high. That's I'm just going to do that again. But anyway, I think the biggest thing here is who is number 1. And I know you said it's DJ Moore, but like it could be Keenan Allen. And if you are getting him in the 5th round, 6th round, I think it's worth the gamble because it is Keenan Allen. He showed no signs of stopping. I feel like that's one of those things that, like, even in my brain, I thought Keenan Allen had a worse year until I looked at it a few weeks ago, and I was like, wait, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns? It just doesn't feel like it last year because last year felt like a loss. That was all before the injury, and I mean, he's seemingly fine. This team's going to be really interesting. I'm not saying DJ Moore's bad. I'm just saying if, like, we're just going off value alone, I think Keenan Allen's worth the gamble, honestly.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to make my opinion very short and sweet. I think people are expecting this to be the Houston Texans of 2023. We'll see what happens, but I think everybody's trying to fit all of the square pegs. We don't know if they're round holes yet. That's just what people are hoping, is that the square pegs are going to go into the square holes. And they think Caleb's going to be CJ and DJ Moore's going to be Nico and Rome's going to be Tank. And then I don't know who Keenan would be in that offense because they really only had 2 guys. But, yeah, I think that people are just trying to expect them to be that, which who knows? Maybe they are. But I think that's what the expectation is.
Yeah, I mean, we saw JSN was complaining. He was happy when Shane Waldron left because he didn't play him enough. And,
yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what people are – I don't know if Eberflus and Foles are going to set him down and be like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to use all 3 of these guys all the time. But then you add in Swift and Kmet. And I'm sorry, guys, there's only been one CJ Stroud in the history of the NFL. That has never happened.
It doesn't
I love
happen
Caleb
like
Williams. I'm so excited to have him on my team, but it's not going to happen.
It's the hype train. It's the Chicago Bears hype train right now. Like, they are, like, I mean, they're one person away from add-on to call them the dream team. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's like people just really have this high hope, which I understand why. I mean, they have all the pieces. They grabbed a short-term rental in Keenan Allen too, which is funny because they have 2 other great wide receivers already. I mean, well, they got a Dunze after Keenan Allen, but it's like, honestly, on paper, I love the Chicago Bears. I got to see it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see and honestly, like, I don't have any comments on Swift because I have no clue. Like, I don't even know what to do at that point.
I think this team can win real life football games quite a bit. I just don't know how much value you're going to get from fantasy out of these guys. I'm still pretty high on DJ Moore. That's just because.
The good news is, and you'll get to it in a second, but the defense is okay. So there's a chance that they are down, or there's a chance that they are fighting in all games. Like, yeah. Well, I didn't want to say, I wasn't trying to down on Joe's team that much, but I was just more so like.
Joe would be very excited if his team was going into shootouts. I don't remember the Bears ever being like
that's fair
35-42 Bears win. Like, I don't think that's happened in a long time. So I think Joe would be very excited about that.
No, we're more like a run on 3rd and 18 type of team. So
yeah,
that's kind of what we've been watching.
It also doesn't help that you've had one of the most stout defenses for like a decade or 2. I don't even know.
And no quarterback, which always makes things fun.
Which that's
this one has to work, right?
It's going to change.
Yeah.
Speaking of the defense, we brought Montez Sweat in. He was an absolute animal, led the Bears in sacks and the Commanders in sacks in the same year. That's pretty wild. He's an absolute stud. The entire defense played better after that. We did lose Justin Jones. Not good, Bob. The Cardinals got a hell of a player, but we're really going to have Gervin Dexter, Zach Pickens step up. Andrew Billings is more of a run stuffer. And then DeMarcus Walker looked okay at the end of the year last year. Dominique Robinson is the preseason darling of this team. We hope he takes a step. Then Austin Booker, Lance Zierlein compared to Max Crosby. So if that could happen, that would be absolutely fantastic. Not a bad guy to throw on your practice squad, but I do think he's more of a project. So you got Sweats. I think we bring Yannick back. That would make a ton of sense. He probably wants too much money right now, but go figure. And then TJ Edwards, top 10 linebacker. He's going to be absolute stud. Tremaine Edmonds, top 30 guy, pretty solid. Jack Sanborn, the ultimate bench stash. If one of these guys get injured, you have to go pick him up. He's a priority add because he will put up a lot of points. Now, I'm very excited about this defensive backfield. We got Jalen Johnson, stud. He got his contract. He'll be just fine. Tyreek Stevenson is, a ball of energy. He's in big play leagues. He's your cornerback, probably a top 15 guy, someone that not a lot of people are talking about right now. So go get him. Kyler Gordon, probably going to be one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the league. So watch him grow. It'll be awesome. Jaquan Brisker literally had the same stats in 2023 that he had in 2022, minus the sacks. He had 3 less sacks last year. I don't know what to tell you about that. Brisker's a safe pick. I don't know if he's ever going to get back into the top 10 at safety, though, unless he gets those sack numbers back up. And then Kevin Baird, really excited to have him on the team. He was a ball hawk, really solid IDP player. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in Philly last year. He got roasted, but I'm sorry, Josh, your whole defensive backfield got roasted. So I can't just blame him.
Wow, this is what it feels like whenever you guys listen to me talk about the Eagles, because that was an in-depth defensive preview, which I don't hate, but every single player. I don't have anything to add.
I try to keep it short, but we got a lot of. You could draft Sweat, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Evans, Sanborn, Johnson, Stevenson, and Brisker, and Byard if you wanted to.
I feel like
those guys are all probably rostered.
I feel like Sanborn might be eh. That's late. You're getting him late enough to where it's not going to hurt your roster, but
I'm actually fairly excited about this defense. I know we need another edge rusher.
The thing is, I feel like you got the pieces, and it should be okay at the very least.
Definitely have the pieces. By the way, if you're betting folk out there, Edwards over tackles is a free square every week. Man cannot not hit his tackle.
He always has been too.
Every week. Literally, it's always 9.5, 10.5, and that man is going for 11 or 12 every week. Just happens like clockwork. All right, the Lions Bears over under is 8.5.
All right, so we got Tennessee, Houston, the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers, the Jaguars. Week 7 bye. Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots, Packers, Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seattle, and Green Bay.
Yeah.
Sure. Other than your division and the 49ers and
Texans. I think I heard them in there.
Texans will hurt, yeah. But everything else was you have a pretty easy schedule for and it's probably because, Caleb Williams coming in, so they don't have a good year. Yeah, I'm taking over on that.
Me too.
Give it to me.
All right. That's a sweep. All right. On to the second best team in the division, and that is the Green Bay Packers. Start out at quarterback. We got Jordan Love going as QB 10 overall, 98 overall, which I think is about right. I think Jordan Love's a good guy to draft this year. He doesn't really have a favorite target. He seems to be able to always find the right play, which is kind of what you want in a quarterback, especially a fantasy one. And I think that although he didn't use his legs a ton, I do think that he is capable of adding something like that to his repertoire. I'm not going to say he's going to be a rushing king, but 30, 40 yards, I could see that being a thing that happens every game in a scramble. But I like the cut of Jordan Love's jib. And so I would be drafting him on my team. He is kind of going in the perfect round for me to grab him. So yeah, Jordan Love, I'm a total buy. On to the running backs. We got Josh Jacobs going as RB12, 53 overall. I'll just mention him too. Marshawn Lloyd's going as RB44, 141 overall. I think this is Josh Jacobs' backfield. I tried to make a case for early in the offseason when he just got drafted there that it would be more of a 60-40, 70-30, but realistically, year one, that's probably not going to happen. Now, a lot of people have been keen to mention that Josh Jacobs is on a 1-year contract, even though it is for 4 years. There's technically the 3 last years of the contract are all ridiculous, but I do think that means in year 1, with the 1 year that they have him, they're going to run him into the ground. So I don't see why Marshawn Lloyd would factor in too terribly much unless there's an injury. So I would say all full steam ahead on Josh Jacobs. He would be a perfect guy to pair with your couple of wide receivers or wide receiver tight end, whatever you decided to do in the first couple of rounds. This guy is a perfect guy to pair with all that to make your team really good from running back perspective, because I don't think he's going to be splitting, but he's going as if he's going to be potentially splitting. And so I think that makes good value.
It's also just he's on a new scenery, new team.
Yep.
It's just one of those things that like everybody's like, oh, I don't know yet. And they drafted one too. There's another one in the backfield.
Yeah, I think this, because I'm going off of best ball rankings. I think real life rankings, he might be a little bit higher than this, but I think people are going into it with a little bit of rookie fever. And so it's kind of pushing him down a little bit in the best ball. But I think as we get actual drafts, by the time we're talking in August, or if you're listening to this in August, he probably is in the top 10 at least. Onto the wide receivers, which is a total cluster. And it's not really necessarily any of these wide receivers' fault. It's the offense that they play in, because it's kind of any given Sunday, somebody's going to pop off. So going as the number 1 in this is Jaden Reed. He's going to wide receiver 35, going as 55 overall. Kind of a gadgety player last season. He definitely had a good floor, and I would say if you needed him as your flex play, like that was your guy as your flex play, probably the one I would like him to be in. If you draft him as your wide receiver 2, you're opening yourself up to a little bit of risk there, in my opinion, because I do think in any given week, look, last year it went the right way. This year it could go the wrong way, and I don't want you to have your entire team built around that, because might end up hurting you in the end. Wide receiver 2 on this team, according to best ball rankings at least, is Christian Watson. Wide receiver 43, 71 overall. There's a huge injury risk there. I know that he has said in the offseason that he is that he's finally figured out what's wrong with the hamstring and knows how to potentially fix it going forward. I'm going to call baloney, because I don't know, if you figure – how are we just now to the point where he's 25 years old? Now he's figured out what's going to keep him from getting the hamstring injury that – look, at the blurb even says – sorry, audio audience, but the blurb on Sleeper even says Christian Watson found the potential fix for hamstring issues. I don't know. Maybe I need to hear from a doctor. Maybe we can have our friend Dr. Tom on. Maybe he can explain how he found these potential fixes for the hamstring.
If I may interject.
Maybe you got an end plan. I don't know. What do you got, Joe?
It was super interesting to read about, because I think his left hamstring or something was like 28% or 30% weaker than his right hamstring.
Okay.
And they were able to identify that with like the muscle mass and the spindles and, everything going on with it. And he literally just did workouts to rebuild the one hamstring and not the other one for a while, until they were evened out a little bit more. I think they said he's down to like a 7% difference now.
Okay.
So
I just
it
want to
was
say,
super interesting to read. If anyone wants to read an article, we know Josh hates Christian Watson.
I just want to
It's
say
a really interesting article.
It's not the injury for me. It's the inconsistency and the easy touchdowns and this is the Devin A-chain of wide receivers, like right here. I mean, Jaden Reed proved last year that Christian Watson doesn't need to exist on this team, and got 8-9 touchdowns in his first year of football, 8 touchdowns. I just feel like Jaden Reed's going to continue to grow, and Christian Watson's going to continue to, get big plays. I mean, this is like late years Odell on the Giants. Like, 800 yards, sure.
Late years
on the Giants.
Oh, well, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah, I just and it's fine. It's just like the stats are swayed. I mean, we've already talked about the touchdowns. They're not like amazing touchdowns. He's 6'4". He should be making jump ball touchdowns, and he's literally wide open in the end zone. I can't even say it's great route running, because it's usually broken coverage. You watch someone fall over and Christian Washington's standing there. Maybe he's pushing him. I don't know. I haven't seen the whole clip.
Oh, for the love of God. All right. Well, besides Josh's hatred for Christian Watson, if you want to draft this science fair project, by all means, go for it. All right, on to the next wide receiver on this team. We got Romeo Doubs, wide receiver 54, 106 overall. I think this is beautiful value for Romeo Doubs. Look, I'm not telling you that he is going to be a consistent wide receiver week in and week out. However, I do think he could totally grow into being the wide receiver 2 on this team, because I think while Jaden Reed got a lot of the flashy plays, Romeo Doubs secretly got a lot of decent looking targets. And I do think that with the minimal targets that he did get, what he was able to turn into those could mean good things for the future. I like where he's going versus the value you're getting. So I would consider him potentially a guy that you draft late. And then I'll just mention him here, and that's Dontavian Wicks. He's the last piece to this puzzle. Kind of played the Christian Watson role a little bit while he was out, but he kind of just shuffled the guys in and out as we went anyway. I liked a lot of what I saw from him in minimal usage. He's going as wide receiver 59, 121 overall. Definitely could do worse with a dart throw. This offense is very fickle, very confusing, I'm sure, from week to week. I know Jaden Reed was very consistent last year, but I'm here to tell you that this could easily be a complete flip-flop with every player getting something different this season, just because it doesn't look like Jordan Love has a favorite. It looks like he just understands the offense and he can make things happen. It's kind of, and I hate saying this because I was really down on Jordan Love, it's kind of how Patrick Mahomes operates when he didn't have Tyreek Hill. You don't really know who he's going to hone in on, but he's going to hone in on somebody. All right. Then on the tight end, we got Luke Musgrave, tight end 17, 149 overall. I think you could do a lot worse than him as your tight end. As Josh has been mentioning through this whole podcast, the tight end value is weird this year. So, you can get this guy literally round 14, and I'm not saying he's going to be your starter week in and week out, but if you're streaming tight ends, this is a guy that you could put in there, and you might get 6 or 7 points, but you also might get a touchdown. And that touchdown, because we saw as Jordan Love went on in the season, felt a lot better. I do think you're going to be able to get something out of him. Tucker Kraft's another guy on the team, but I don't think he's draftable. He's just a handcuff, which is a weird handcuff at that, to be honest. But what do you guys think of the Green Bay offense? I know we kind of talked about Christian Watson, but non-Christian Watson related comments about the Green Bay offense.
Josh compared Christian Watson to late stage Odell. I just want to ruin everyone's draft and all of your confidence and everything. You know who scored a shitload of end around touchdowns their rookie year and looked really good doing it?
Chase
and
Claypool.
Was massively overdrafted. Chase fucking Claypool. Did you say that?
I did say that.
Well, hey, I agree with you 100%. That was my one thing with him. I missed that one, Bill. I'm sorry.
My bad.
I don't think Christian Watson's running end arounds. He can barely run. But anyway, on to something else, because that's what
Reed is running end arounds.
Oh, okay.
That's
sorry,
weird.
My bad. Sorry, I thought we were doing Christian.
Gotta get Watson off your brain, bro.
My hatred's just here, man. It's seething.
Yeah, it's seething. Yeah, I can tell.
Right now. But no, honestly, the Musgrave, I think he's the backup tight end to have in any roster. I don't care who you drafted.
Yeah.
You could draft Kelsey. You could draft K-Dot as your starter. Musgrave, I think, is one of those guys. He was having a really good rookie season. Obviously, Jordan Love was just throwing the ball everywhere. But honestly, the touchdowns were so low. You add 3 touchdowns and he's tight end 10. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's a fact. I didn't do the math, but he had one touchdown in his rookie season. Got injured. He looked great, and you got to remember, rookie tight ends don't do that. I understand that we just had the Sam Laporta experience, but it doesn't happen. So. Musgrave's a great tight end to have on your team.
For sure. All right. I'll quickly go through this defense. I will say this. I know Joe's probably going to go through all these guys he loves on this team. As a unit, this is a very good defense. Individual players-wise, I don't know if I'm going to be after a ton of these guys. I do like Rashawn Gary. I think Quay Walker, now that he's gotten his weird emotional outburst out of his way, he was a little bit better last year. There's 2 rookies on the team. Edrin Cooper looks like he's going to start over Isaiah McDuffie, and Javon Bullard looks like he's going to start at free safety, which is kind of cool. But they're also rookies, so take that with a grain of salt. They picked up Xavier McKinney, which was always solid for the Giants, and I think this is a better defense for him to thrive in. And then I'll mention Keyshawn Nixon as well, just because he's also a kick returner. So if you're in one of those kind of leagues, you're also going to get those kind of points, but you also get the defensive points as well, as he is their one of their defensive backs. So is there anybody I missed, Joe, that you'd like to mention?
No, you covered them pretty good.
I also think you covered them pretty good, but it's fine. I don't need to be asked.
Well, Joe usually likes to go down the line and talk about like somebody that's third string that like Lucas Van Ness, like ooh, he's gonna have a big year or something.
See, the thing about the Packers is there's usually only 2 or 3 good defensive players on that team at any given moment. Like they just don't have.
It's a good unit.
It's a good unit.
There are some
100%.
Lucas Van Ness truthers out there that are.
I didn't believe it
he's
last
fine.
year, and I still refuse to believe it this year. I don't care what kind of wool they want to pull over my eyes with that. It's not happening. I don't
Not
care.
many leagues. I want it to happen though.
No, it's ridiculous. They took him in the first round, and I was like, why? He was a guy that whatever. We're not going to get back into it. We don't need to go back over what they did with him at Iowa. All right, the over-under for the Packers is 9.5, Joe.
Let's give me a second. I was drafting while we were going through this.
My God.
Fair enough.
I'm between Kamara and Ingram and a quarterback. So you guys talk that out while I pull this up.
Well, without knowing your roster construction, Joe, I don't think we'll know.
No, you're in the league.
Get Kamara. Just get Kamara.
It's a Warrior Bowl.
You know you want him. You know you want him. I love that. I love
All
that
right.
we're going to interrupt this scheduling. Good job.
Green Bay starts out with Philadelphia. Then they go Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, Texans, Jags, Lions, Week 10 bye week, Bears, 49ers, Miami, Lions, Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, and the Bears.
Here's the tough division or the tough schedule. My God, how did the Bears get such an easy one?
Yeah.
We really suck last year.
I'm actually really happy.
The worst they were the worst, right? The Bears?
No, that was the Carolina Panthers. That's why they got their guy.
No. I meant worse than this division. They were the worst team in this division, right? So that's why they got the easiest.
I want to go.
I think under. I'm going under. I think 9 and 8 sounds great. Like that honestly sounds right, but that's under if you do 9.5. What do you think, Joe?
Under, because fuck the Packers.
Yeah, he's not going to go against that.
Living off emotion. Love it. All right. On to Josh with the Detroit Lions.
Well, I got the money team, and I just want to bring back the whole trade a couple years ago, Jared Goff for Stafford. We all thought the Lions were just getting a salary dumped on them. And this man determined to make that salary not look terrible. And oh my God, he has earned every penny. Until he wins the Super Bowl, will really do it. But he gave Lions fans hope the last 2 years. I said to my dad 2 years ago, Jared Goff, or not Jared Goff specific, but I was like, your team's going to be good soon. And he's like, I'm doing this for 60 years, blah, blah, whatever, robble. That's his sound that I make for him. But anyway, so Jared Goff, 29 years old. I kind of keep forgetting because Carson Wentz is out of the league. He was running mate with Carson Wentz for a while, but he's only 29 years old. Sorry, Carson Wentz. But this man, this is I have to say, like, this is not his floor necessarily, but like this is like at minimum what you're going to see from him again. For 4,500 yards. I think they passed 600 times last year. Yep, 600 times, completed 400 of them, 270 yards a game. And that's with the running backs still getting 30 touchdowns. Like I at any given moment, this could turn into passing touchdowns over rushing touchdowns. Coming into the rushing, just get it out of the way. 23 touchdowns on the ground. I'm not saying that those are going to be gone and those are going to flip-flop, but I feel like any of those touchdowns could flip-flop at any moment. I felt like we saw the David Montgomery on the 1 yard line just as much as we saw Jamal Williams. So getting into the running backs, of course, there is David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs. Let me talk about Goff. QB 13-ish. Basically, he's one of the top 12 QBs. I don't know where these rankings are coming from, but you're happy with ending up with Goff. You don't need Mahomes. You can do it with Goff. I just want to let you know that he's the new Stafford, the guy who gets drafted outside the top 10 and still puts up top 10 numbers every year. But then getting into the running backs, Gibbs at 13 overall, and then running back 5, and then Monty at 53, running back 17. So there's a huge gap here. And so this is my issue here. And if you have Jamar Gibbs in Dynasty, you are a happy man. He is one of the 3 running backs that no one will trade. Or if you're smart, you will not trade him. My problem with this is this can go either way. And And to draft him in the first round, if you can get him in the second round, I'm happy with that. You get him in the back half, and you get to stack a wide receiver with Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 and 13. I'm happy with that. But if you are grabbing Jahmyr Gibbs at 11, 9, 10, 8, anything around there, I don't love it. Because you want to know why? Because I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen with this backfield. And Gibbs is my biggest question mark in this top 10. And I know he's technically at 11 or whatever, but anyway, getting into Montgomery, who is seemingly a steal at that point in the 50s. Man lost a couple games in the season and still ended up being running back 17, 13 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. Yes, the pass catching numbers aren't there. We already knew that wasn't going to be the David Montgomery. We knew he was taking the Jamal Williams role, which he essentially did. Didn't get 20 touchdowns, but 13. Gibbs, on the other hand, the 10 touchdowns is phenomenal, but you want to see more through the air, I think, with Gibbs, and that's what kills me. Obviously, in PPR, it's amazing to see 50 catches, and that's 50 points. But only 300 yards seems just light, in my opinion. Getting less yards per carry than an average running back at 5 or what you want to see. He literally averaged more on the ground than he did through the air. And I'm not saying there's any reason behind that. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off this topic because I could talk about this forever. Amon-Ra is the true guy that everybody knows. You're getting him. You're very happy with him. And honestly, I think he's arguably wide receiver 1 at any given moment. With Jefferson coming out with, a new quarterback, Chase coming in with Joe Burrow banged up, Tyreek Hill being Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's just getting older. I honestly I'm okay if you grab Amon-Ra with the number 2 pick. I still think Christian McCaffrey should go over him. Currently number 6, wide receiver 5. But yeah, you don't need me to talk about Amon-Ra. I think the biggest thing that I just think is wild with the Detroit Lions is they didn't add any wide receivers. So seemingly Sam Laporta is going to do the same thing, right? I don't love that either. Going to be going as tight end 1, which it says currently is number 30 overall. What if he doesn't? Let me just go ahead and say that. What if he doesn't? And you grab him late second round, because that's probably what's going to happen, maybe early third, and you got your wide receiver in running back, and then you got a tight end that you grabbed that you thought was going to be the number 1 tight end overall. The value from tight end 1 to tight end 4, tight end 6, tight end 7, like we talked about, is too good for me to grab a tight end this early. So seemingly should do all this over again. I mean, it was amazing what he did. Rookie tight end coming in for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. Tread with caution, I guess. If you believe, you believe, man. If you're Andy Behrens and you are an Iowa boy and you know that the tight ends are amazing here, do your thing. But I think what this really means is that that they believe in Jameson Williams. And I think this is the thing. This is the potential, I don't want to say league winner, but league booster. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to be quoted saying something like that. Currently going 109, wide receiver 45, essentially free. So we're talking 10th round, 8th round, depending on if you're in 10 or 12 league. And this man, we know, and we saw him, he started getting more carries. He started getting runs. He started getting the ball, and we're excited about it. And he obviously came off an ACL his rookie year, looked really bad. And he had 1 touchdown for 49 yards. Super cool. This year he's healthy, and they added no wide receivers. And yes, they have Sam Laporta. You can say that. You can make that argument all you want. Sam Laporta is the other wide receiver. That's why they didn't do it. But they have to believe in this guy. They got rid of one of the guys that was their guy, Josh Reynolds, and they got Khalif Raymond, and then they got Peoples-Jones, who they have yet to really utilize as well, which you can make the same argument for those guys if you really want to. But Jameson was the one they were trying to get involved. It wasn't Donovan Peoples-Jones last year, and he was on the team for well enough time. So that's my little line spiel. I'm over it. I'm excited about this team as a team. We know that they can score points. We know that Goff's gonna be slinging the ball around. We know the running backs are being scoring points. We know Amon-Ra is doing his thing. We should know Laporta is doing his thing as well. But I just want to add in Jameson to that. I feel like 100 is just aggressively low. So anyway, what do you guys think?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, here's the thing with the Lions this year is 14 of their 18 games are going to be played in a dome. They're going outside 4 times this year. They have a fast offense. Epic things are going to happen. Jared Goff, I have outrageously high as my quarterback. You're right about Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, though. what Jahmyr Gibbs last year did was awesome, and that's what everyone remembers is like that 6-game stretch at the end and into the playoffs where he just looked electric. He is an electric player. But having Jahmyr Gibbs on your team and seeing your buddy have Jahmyr Gibbs on your team is two very different things, because you don't know when Monty's getting that damn ball. He could get 3 touchdowns a game and you're stuck with, 8 points from Jahmyr Gibbs. It's happened to me. It's out there. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but you're absolutely right. Where he's going right now is a little rich for my blood. I do love Monty. Amon-Ra is my wide receiver 3 right now. I got Lamb, Chase, Amon-Ra. I think he's probably the safest pick outside of Lamb at wide receiver, and he should have an awesome one. And then to follow up your Laporta thought, the reason we took Kelsey as early as we took Kelsey was because he was such an advantage over every other tight end. And when you had him on your team was, you had a 10-point difference every week at your tight end position. That's not the case anymore. These teams have caught up to it. So taking a tight end in the second round is bullshit. Don't do it.
Man, I thought you were coming down my throat for the Laporta take, man. I was like, ugh. I know you're like 20 minutes away from me, but still.
No.
Okay. I'll do the devil's advocate of Sam Laporta. Like, what if he's better than that? Like, what if that was the floor of his career was 800 yards and 10 touchdowns? What if he's going to be a 1,100 to 1,200 yard player with 14 touchdowns?
I mean, that's super fair, but then you're still like Joe said, you could grab Kelsey 10 picks later at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's just I think it really comes down to, and it's not even, I'm not saying Laporta's bad. Obviously, we know he's fucking great. I mean, we saw him play, but it's more of there's so many Laportas. You can get Trey McBride around later. You can get Kelsey a few picks later. Like, I mean, I imagine it should shift it down. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they still go super high, and then I'm just sitting there swooping up all the running backs, and Joe's swooping up all the wide receivers, and we're doing our thing like we normally do. But I can't. I loved getting Laporta last year in the 8th round, in the 9th round. I'm looking for that next one, although it doesn't seemingly like maybe it's Jatavian Sanders. Like, it just really doesn't look like there's really a tight end this year at this point. But we didn't.
Ben Sinnott or whatever from Washington.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. Anyway, let's get to the defense real quick. Let me touch on.
I have two things. I didn't even get to my main points. I'm just reporting to the Laporta thing. Should they go get Brandon Ayuk? Like, how simple is that, right?
How amazing would that be?
Brandon Ayuk requested a trade. They
trade a second round.
I know you love JMO, but like,
yeah,
Brandon Ayuk is a big upgrade over that in the second spot.
As I was doing the research on this, like, I don't know why, but I thought they added someone else. Like, not anyone big. Like, obviously, I'd know if they went and grabbed like an Ayuk or something. But like, I thought they grabbed, I don't know, a wide receiver somewhere.
I think we all just wanted them to, and they didn't do it. But
yeah, you just assumed they would have grabbed someone. I guess wide receiver market was really weird in free agency. Calvin Ridley went for way too much money. So anyway, I would love it personally for the team. I'd hate it for my fancy stocks, but like, I'll get over it. Figure it out.
Fair enough. And then what are your thoughts on the two taking Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? The old
the stack.
Honestly, the New Orleans approach from a couple years ago.
I don't hate it. And then there, at the very least, if one of them does get injured, you have the top running back in the league, essentially. You're playing against yourself. I just feel like is the only issue. I just like the idea of, I always look at stock, and to put them in the same spot where like the stats pretty much lined up relatively evenly. It's hard for me to jump one in the first round than to jump one in the 4th round. David Montgomery is completely undervalued is my main point. He always has been. Everybody hates David Montgomery for some reason.
Yeah. It's ballsy, Billy. It's very ballsy. And I would have
applaud you
if you did it. I would. I probably won't, but
I did it in Scott Fish. We'll see if it works. Hey, it's something. I have to be ballsy enough to do something that's going to set me apart from teams.
Time out. You have Gibbs, Montgomery, and Laporta in Scott Fish?
Now that you're saying it, I might have all 3 of them. I didn't know that until just
now. I don't hate it.
I thought you went Ingram.
I took Ingram. Laporta was a different league.
I thought you had Laporta. My bad. Okay. Anyway,
no,
right, I did. On the defense.
I have Laporta. I took him in the.
You did the Laporta thing, right? Okay.
Gibbs in the 2nd, David Montgomery in the 7th. So I will be happy.
I
with
got
that.
Montgomery and Scott Fish as well, and I think it was around the 7th, which is just wild to me. But anyway, all right, touching on the defense, let's get this over with. Hutchinson, obviously the standalone defensive end here. We really hoped that they would do something in the offseason. They did not. Marcus Davenport's fine, but like I was really hoping for someone else as a running mate for him. DJ Reader as nose tackle is amazing, but it's not the same as getting an edge rusher. Linebacker wise, Alex Anzalone, we already know, can get all the points. This man will do everything he can to stay on the football field, and I think you draft him in every league whatsoever. Jack Campbell still kind of on the way up. There's a chance. I think he might be going a little high in drafts, but I think there's a chance that he really does take over that Anzalone role at any moment. So behind him, Derek Barnes, we want this to be a thing. It hasn't been yet, but if Jack Campbell doesn't pan out, Derek Barnes can be a great late round stash. And then safety, honestly, they used to be swimming in safeties, and now it's Kirby Joseph. So Tracy Walker got cut. CJ Gardner-Johnson's gone. Oh, and Brian Branch, my apologies. They just got him listed in Nickelback. But it's Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. They did add Terrion Arnold with great value, and then Carlton Davis on the other side. So the secondary is just completely sick, but the depth is gone. They had 4 safeties last year. I loved everything for that, and they were honestly all scoring points, like 3 of them at a time. This year, it's Brian Branch. He's going real early. And then Kirby Joseph is actually kind of the steal at the safeties here because nobody really wants free safeties as it is, but Kirby Joseph has been doing it. So,
yeah, I just have 2. I mean, Melifonwu at safety was really solid last year. They kind of rotate those guys a little bit. I know Brian Branch was injured, but he could be a sneaky guy to add late. And then, honestly, what is Jack Campbell? What is Jack Campbell?
I couldn't answer that
question,
sir.
What is he? I don't know. I'm very worried to draft Jack Campbell this year. I'll let someone else have him.
I just think he's wherever he's going. I don't even know what the ranking is. I just know it's too high because everybody seems to be really high on Jack Campbell, and it's still Anzalone's role.
Well, he was your second pick last year, essentially. First pick in a lot. First IDP pick in a lot. So everyone's really high on him. I don't know. I'm staying away from it.
For sure. All right. Over-under's 10.5.
I didn't have the schedule ready, boys.
Oh, for the love of God, Joe.
You have one job other than talking.
I've been talking a lot.
Joshing around,
I've been trying to chip into the conversation and make something of it. What's the total?
10.5.
10.5. All right. I got the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Titans, the Packers, the Texans, the Jags, the Colts, the Bears, the Packers, the Bills, the Bears, the 49ers, and the Vikings.
Damn, they got a tough schedule too.
I still say they go over.
I still say they go over, but they can fight any team is the thing at this point.
Exactly. Every game on their schedule is winnable.
Yep.
Schedule?
I'm going to go over it too because I love the Lions.
Okay. All right, on to the last team. I'm going to make mine short and sweet here with the Vikings. We have Mr. Sam Darnold going QB 34. We got J.J. McCarthy going QB 30. That is the trouble with best ball rankings because people are projecting J.J. McCarthy's going to take over at some point in the year. I can't say that's wrong. I hate it. I hate it for everybody involved with this team this season. I wouldn't draft either quarterback. Let's be just straight shooters about that. I think in the future, J.J. McCarthy distantly down the road can probably end up being a good quarterback, but it ain't going to be this year, unfortunately.
Look how lovable he looks in the picture. Sorry, audio listeners.
Dude, in 2QB, McCarthy is going laughably high.
Yeah, I was
ridiculous. Crazy.
Which is ridiculous. No, this kid's not going to play before like week 9. And if they do, it doesn't make any sense. Because they're not going to be competitive.
Them trotting out Sam Darnold is my thing. I would make the fireball bet that he goes before week 7. I'll give you even 2 weeks on that in week 9.
Okay, I'll take that. Just because I don't know why they would do that. Like this,
I don't know
this
why
is a waste of a year.
This is a waste of a year, but like, why wouldn't you at least go see what you got at that point? Because Sam Darnold
wait,
in your future.
This coming from the guy that says we shouldn't put rookie QBs in.
Yeah, it doesn't count when you have
trusted him to put a QB in too early.
I understand the ironicness of this conversation, but at the same time, when you're talking about Sam Darnold, it doesn't count.
Okay, fair enough then.
All right, Joe, I'll take running back since I'm already talking. Aaron Jones, I feel like, in my opinion, going really high for like, I guess it's a reason. Aaron Jones has been fine over the years. Running back 19, it's a good kind of like running back dead zone. So 66 overall, 5th round. Had a really bad year last year, and that was prior to being injured. I mean, I know it's kind of an off and on season for him, but like everyone's really excited about Aaron Jones here, and I cannot personally say why. Maybe you guys have a different conversation for that. Ty Chandler showed flashes. I think he gets the ball a little bit more often than people would think right off the bat. Obviously, just some big play games. So especially spelling Aaron Jones, which I assume is the plan. Ty Chandler's essentially free in drafts. So, and at least in redraft era, going when, I don't even know, somewhere way down there, running back 47. I think Ty Chandler might be one of those like steals of the draft as well. So I'm not saying don't draft Aaron Jones. I think we just seen the best of Aaron Jones already. And maybe this team goes a little bit more run heavy, as we talked about Sam Darnold starting for 7 games. But Aaron Jones is more of a late season guy. And I don't see him keeping the job all season, if you know what I'm saying. So
I'd agree with you. I'm pretty excited about both of these guys, I would say. With Sam Darnold and McCarthy as your quarterbacks, the backs are going to have to pick up a lot of work. And I like what Aaron Jones did, especially as a receiver. I think he's going to do a lot of receiving work on this team because we'd expect him to be down a lot. So I don't mind where Aaron Jones is going. I mean, if you're getting him in the 7th round, it's not the worst thing as your RB2 or RB3. And then I think Ty Chandler is going to play a lot more than people are thinking right now. Everyone's writing him off. I mean, sure, you could sign Aaron Jones to a 1-year contract and absolutely run him into the ground, but I don't really see the point in doing that to the poor guy. When you got Ty Chandler there, the only problem with Chandler is he sucks at pass protection. So we'll have to see how.
That's why he needs to catch the ball faster.
Yeah, seriously. It's crazy. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, absolute stud. He's going to get over probably 140 targets this year. They're going to throw the ball to him constantly, and they should. Hopefully he makes it out of this season alive. But he's a really solid draft pick. He's going to get a ton of volume. Take Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison got his second, vehicular drunkenness thing.
The second DWI?
Call an Uber, kids. No, he was just speaking the first time.
Oh, sorry. False.
Second one of the Vikings.
140 miles per hour.
So
is he really going that fast?
Shit. Was.
Oh my God.
I don't know. You can read Drew Davenport's thing. I don't think anything's going to come of this, so he's probably fine. It's just.
Well, I think the only issue with this Addison situation is he posted himself drinking a mimosa on Instagram or wherever on social media 2 days after his DWI, after apologizing, like, I'm sorry, I messed up. And then he was literally like, hey, I'm drinking again. And like, I'm not saying he drove there and maybe he was being responsible. Maybe he just had one little mimosa with breakfast, whatever, we've all done it. I can't have one mimosa personally. I feel like it's a 3 or 4 kind of guy. But like the biggest issue is someone just died from a DWI accident. Addison seems to be showing no remorse. So I don't know where that goes. I mean, even if it is a suspension, it's a game or 2. It's not anything serious. But like as a team player, he's got to be like not on the outs with the team, but like they might punish him on their own is what I'm trying to say.
Probably.
Yeah. You're right. I don't know. I don't think anything comes of it. I'm just not overly excited about Jordan Addison. I mean, he's going 6th round right now, wide receiver 44. No, thank you, sir. I think he's a really talented kid. I'm just not overly excited about this offense. So taking the wide receiver 2, no matter how talented or legally in trouble, not going to do it.
Fair enough.
And then tight ends, man, Hawkinson, who knows? He's going shockingly early for someone that we have no idea when he's coming back. Hopefully camp gives us some idea of when he'll be back. In the meantime, they signed Robert Tonyan. He seems to have a connection with Darnold. So, DraftKings play a deep tight end league. You could rock it, but again, not overly excited about this team.
Yeah, no, they low key not great. This Hawkinson thing, I felt like we would probably know a little bit more by now, but then again, camp starts next week, so hopefully we'll get a better update then.
I feel like the thing about Hawkinson is, and like, yeah, I'm sure people have IRs in their thing or, you know, in their games or whatever, but like he's going as like tight end 11, 12 in drafts, maybe 13. And this is redraft. So what you're going to do is you're going to draft him and then he's going to sit on your bench for 6 weeks and you're going to be like, he's not coming back. Maybe 4 weeks. Let's be real. Cause people get antsy in the beginning of the season. And you're going to drop him and then you're going to be mad. And like, so everyone's just going to pick up Hawkinson. So like, why even keep him? Like no one's going to hold on to him the whole season unless it's the guy who just like auto drafted him and never changes his lineup.
And God forbid you get in that situation where it's like he could come back this week or he could come back and it's just that questionable out nonsense. So you can't keep him on the IR.
The only reason anyone should have Hawkinson is if you just like completely forgot about tight end and you're like, I gotta grab Hawkinson and hope for the best at the season. Like I got Christian McCaffrey, I got CeeDee Lamb, I don't know how you got them, but like you got Gibbs, you got like 3 amazing stars, and you're like, this team is going to the ship. And I didn't get a tight end. I'm gonna grab Hawkinson and I'm gonna wait it out and play the flip game. And that's when you go get Musgrave. We already talked about it.
I don't hate that because we're ship guys. We're sailors. We're waiting for that playoff. So stashing a guy like that, and there's value late at tight end. I think you.
The only problem is what's the chances of him just getting shut down for the season? Because this
probably it depends how they start. I mean, Darnold goes out there and gets destroyed, and then McCarthy looks like shit. I don't know why you would bring him back.
This team had no plan when Kirk Cousins didn't sign back with them. So, I mean, I don't know. They think they're competing, but they're definitely not with these QBs. Just are refused. You can't hide your quarterback. It's just like used to you be able to do shit like that and get away with it. This NFL right now, you can't do that. They have to be good, and neither of these guys is ready. All right, quickly get to the defense because there's a couple guys I like. Ivan Pace Jr. Love Ivan Pace Jr. He's definitely a guy I'll be after. This team low-key overnight became like the island of misfit toys. It's literally all the guys that like you weren't sure about on a different team. Now they're all on the same team. Like Andrew Van Ginkel's here, Shaq Griffin, Jonathan Bullard, Harrison Phillips comes in from Buffalo, Blake Cashman from Houston, Jonathan Greenard from Houston. Like it's literally all the guys that you were debating on a waiver wire at some point in time. They're all here now. Like they're all starting on a team now. So that's who you're dealing with as far as the defense goes.
Greenard broke out.
I just love how you get rid of Danielle Hunter and you replace him with Jonathan Greenard. That's like the funniest thing ever to me.
It's duct tape, Joe. Duct tape.
Blake Cashman seems to be he's wearing the dot in camp, so I would assume that transfers over. I actually kind of like Van Ginkel. He was pretty good in Miami, so he could, especially getting more playing time, put up some good numbers. And then Bynum and Metellus, love those 2 guys.
Yeah, they're good.
I love all the troopers you picked up. Got Ivan Pace for free last year too. We out here.
Ivan Pace Hive. And they got a rookie kicker. That's like the icing on the cake for a potentially disastrous season. You have a duct tape defense, a rookie kicker, and a quarterback who doesn't need to be on the field right now. And then you have a Maserati sitting in the garage in Justin Jefferson. So that's the Vikings 2024-2025 season. So it's going to be lovely. Their over-under is 6.5.
Under.
That's shockingly low.
They got the Giants, the 49ers, the Texans, the Packers, the Jets, the Lions, the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Bears, the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Lions. Could they go 0-16?
They're not going to go 0-16.
No, I think they beat the Giants week 1, and they're feeling real good about themselves. And then they just
wait a minute. Didn't the Lions, when they went 0-16, didn't they have Megatron on that team? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah.
Pretty sure they had him, yeah.
Creepy scenario we have brewing here.
That's a tough schedule, man.
That is tough. Dude, week 1, I was like, yeah, they got this, man. 7 games, we got 1 already under wraps. And then I was like, never mind.
Dude, that Kirk Cousins revenge game on December 8th when the Falcons come to the U.S. Bank, Oh, I'm going
If
to
he's
circle that
playing.
one.
I don't know. Phoenix might be playing at that point.
That'll be a fun one, but I'm going under. And this is actually, if you don't need a quarterback, which the Vikings don't, this is actually a low-key pretty good draft because there's a lot of good defensive talent in the first round and especially at the top. So to rebuild this defense, you could do worse than being in the first pick in this draft. So if you don't need a quarterback. So I don't know. Maybe they could potentially tank for that. But yeah, not good overall. All right. Well, that's the NFC North. I think we have the Lions being the best team in this division and the Packers and Bears kind of fighting it out for number 2. I think we're all going to personally pick the Bears, but who knows?
100%. I would have picked the Bears even if I didn't hate the Packers, but clearly.
That's fair.
Bears.
All right. One division left, the NFC West. Joe, get us out of here.
Good night, Possums.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.